Hey, welcome to David's video blog. I've got a few stories for you today. The first one is the European Union has decided to ban olive oil jugs and dipping bowls from restaurant tables. Apparently there's some sort of outbreak of people claiming that olive oil is olive oil and it not being olive oil, or there's an outbreak of disease from this, neither of which have been stated or proven, but that's what they're trying to prevent. So instead of having that little carafe of olive oil that you pour into your plate and dip your bread into, you're going to have a pre-packaged container of olive oil from one of the many large plantations of olive oil producers, as opposed to small boutique olive shops that only produce it by the gallon or the tub or whatever they produce it in. So the EU restaurateurs are highly upset because they can't get their fine olive oils to the tables of fine diners. So this is just another example of a state, or the state, meaning the government, intervening in what you can and cannot eat at your table at a restaurant. There's no proof of disease or rampant illness from olive oil rotting at the tables in restaurants across Europe. There's no evidence of fake olive oil, having safflower oil instead of olive oil at the table. So it's a regulation that's solving no problem whatsoever. Hey, the second article is about the scientist who cloned Dolly the sheep. It's not that I could care less about the cloning. This is the fact that a group of people saw that a man put a belt around his neck and hanged himself from the ceiling, but the coroner said he had no intentions of dying and was fully expecting his wife to go back into the room and rescue him, when in fact she actually left the house. It's a big fight. He had done a number of things to bring attention to himself that he might kill himself. Pulled a knife, talked about other stuff, and then in the middle of the fight, she leaves. Well, he hangs himself thinking, she'll find me and I'll get her. But I don't see how people can actually look at this and think, oh, well, he didn't mean to kill himself. Well, who does? Only people who put guns to their heads and actually pull the trigger mean to kill themselves. Only people who put their head in a noose and jump off of something mean to kill themselves. Well, he put his head in a noose and stepped off of something. He killed himself. This is all about insurance. It's all about who's going to get paid, what kind of, we can't put this guy down because he was a great scientist, so he must have not meant to kill himself. It was a cry for help. Well, all that stuff's a cry for help, but I don't see how they can get in the mind of this person and decide that he was doing this as some sort of cry for help versus, hey, after the wife left the house, he just decided it wasn't worth it and killed himself. I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense. So just the audacity of this group to say, well, he died, but he didn't mean to die. Well, that's crap. Sorry. I'm going to wrap the IRS story up into these two articles. The first one says that the outgoing IRS chief says taxes are voluntary. Well, sure, they all say it's voluntary. Paying your taxes is a voluntary thing. They don't come into your house and pick up cash off your table and take it away. You give it to them. Well, that's the voluntary aspect of it. The problem is if you don't give it to them willingly, they come take it. And if you read a little lower, that's what the Harry Reid exchange is. Well, paying your taxes are voluntary. Absolutely, they're voluntary. But in reality, they're not, because your employer gets in trouble if they don't pay your taxes. If I called up my employer and said, employer, don't send the federal government taxes out of my check, I'll take care of it, they get in trouble. So therefore, it is not a voluntary system. And again, to both of these Harry Reid's part and to the author's part here, try not paying your taxes for a while. Go knock on Wesley Snipes' door and see what it did for him. Go knock on dozens upon dozens upon hundreds upon thousands of people's doors who haven't paid their taxes and just see if they're going to tell you it's voluntary or not. So don't buy into the lie that it's not voluntary. It's totally voluntary. It is force. It is government forcibly taking money out of your pockets. Whether you agree with taxes or not, that's what it is. Whether you think taxes should be high or low or whatever, it is still government taking money out of your pockets for their purpose. The second one is the legality of the IRS actions and the spokesperson calling it irrelevant. This is another one of those things that I think Obama is actually doing on purpose. I think this is part of a plan. He sends out the worst representative you can possibly find to speak on a subject. This guy totally misspoke this entire morning on the Sunday news shows. He gave ridiculous quotes about everything being irrelevant, shouldn't matter, blah, blah, blah. He disregards, so that becomes the story. So now the story is senior advisor Dan Pfeiffer calling the actions irrelevant. Calling the law irrelevant. That's the focus. So the focus is not what the IRS did. So again, that further covers the IRS actions from scrutiny. So now we have this other issue. We've got Obama saying, "Well, I'll figure out if it's legal or illegal later," right after an IG report says massively illegal. And now he says, "Well, whether it's illegal or not, it's irrelevant." Again, he's just putting layer upon layer upon layer under this or on top of this story so that we don't ever actually discuss the story. He sends people out onto the Sunday talk shows that answer, "I don't know." Well, why the hell are they sending them out on the talk shows? That's the whole purpose. The whole purpose of those Sunday shows is to get an answer. Bob Schieffer today basically asked the guy, "Why are you here? If you're not going to answer the questions, why are you here? Why am I talking to you on my show if your answers are, 'I don't know'?" It's something to think about from your government. Hey, this next story is on Penny Pritzkler. 3 things about her that you need to know. Number 1, she donates money to everybody of every political leaning. So it's everybody from Al Gore to John Kerry to Hillary Clinton to George Bush to Giuliani, McCain, Lieberman, and of course Obama, because she's out of Chicago. So what that tells me is she's just a political hack. She's just trying to gain favor with those in power. Secondly, she's from Chicago. She ran Superior Bank into the ground, cost the taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars. She ran the Chicago City Schools, which she didn't run them, but she was on the board, which suck. Just absolutely horrible. Reading rates, graduation rates, test results, all kinds of things. However you want to measure education, Chicago schools are failing their people. And third of all, she was put up as Commerce Secretary, which she is today. She was put up in Commerce Secretary in 2008, and then told everybody when she withdrew her name that it was for family business reasons. Well, I'm sorry, you don't put your name up. You're not even on the nomination list unless you're fully aware of the impact that it's going to have on your business dealings. You know that you're going to have to step away from certain family business activities as a secretary within the cabinet. You're not. That doesn't come as a surprise 2 weeks later after your name's put on the official list, or especially put up for nomination. So that was bullshit. I think everybody just knew, hey, you're seriously not going to nominate this woman, are you, Mr. Obama? And they pulled the name. So it's quite interesting that he puts her back up now that he can't be reelected. There's no real damage to his politics right now. I think he nominated her recently just to kind of make sure that that is the attention that the media will gravitate towards. That's the news story, not Benghazi, not the IRS, not the AP. But let's put up this really awful secretary candidate who doesn't believe anything that I believe. She's very pro-business. She's anti-union. She's cost the taxpayer money. She's one of those evil bankers that Obama talks about. It's pretty funny that Obama would put her up as the nominee, but then again, look at the Secretary of Defense, look at some other secretaries he's put up. They're jokes of cabinet personnel, so, and unqualified. So she's totally not qualified, but yet he's got her up there, I think, as a distraction. But I think this whole campaign recently is just a smoke and mirrors campaign to get away from the real issues. So that's just me. Bye.